The ground shakes violently, splitting roads in two as buildings crumble like sandcastles. A raging tornado tears through Kansas, ripping homes from their foundations and scattering debris like confetti. In Los Angeles, flames spiral into the sky, forming a fire tornado that burns with an intensity you can almost feel through the screen. These moments are not just stories, they're raw, real, and caught on camera. What drives Mother Nature to unleash such unstoppable fury? And can we ever truly prepare for her wrath?
Now cleaning up after a tornado outbreak in Greater Houston. This one right here, caught on camera in the Katy area. Danny Thigpen says he was in the Sunterra.
Tornadoes are nature's most unpredictable and terrifying storms, capable of destroying everything in their path within moments. In Andover, Kansas, one such tornado proved just how unstoppable these swirling giants can be. It wasn't just a storm, it was a monster. The surveillance footage from that fateful day shows a violent funnel ripping through neighborhoods, leaving entire homes flattened. Walls, roofs, and everything inside were torn apart like paper, scattering debris for miles. Families found themselves standing in disbelief, staring at the bare foundations of what used to be their homes. The power of the tornado didn't just uproot trees, it uprooted lives.
This is the third event of severe weather that we've had so far this week. Here are the tornado reports from today. There's 8 reports on the map. They're going to filter this down to eventually show that there were probably 4 to 5 confirmed tornadoes.
In Nash County, North Carolina, another tornado struck unexpectedly, carving a path of destruction through the countryside. It swept across fields and homes without hesitation, taking with it roofs, fences, and anything that wasn't bolted down. For those in its path, it felt like time froze. The sheer noise of the storm, like a freight train barreling through, was enough to instill fear. But the aftermath was even more harrowing. People returned to find their possessions scattered, their homes reduced to rubble, and their sense of safety shattered.
Well, turning now to the severe and deadly weather outbreak across the South over the weekend. There is tornado damage from Texas to Georgia, and some survivors say they were just inches away from serious injury, or maybe worse.
Even smaller tornadoes can pack a deadly punch. Near a local school, a seemingly harmless twister made an uninvited appearance. Though it didn't cause massive destruction, it was a stark reminder of how quickly things could escalate. Students and staff were rushed to safety as the wind howled and debris flew. The tornado might not have been large enough to close the school permanently, but it was enough to leave everyone shaken. Tornadoes, whether big or small, remind us of nature's raw power and the importance of being prepared for the unexpected.
An area of natural beauty. $1 million mansions, designer shops, and some of Hawaii's most luxurious harborside restaurants and hotels.
Oh my gosh, look at the harbor.
Wildfires are among the most fearsome natural disasters, turning serene landscapes into blazing infernos within moments. The Getty Fire in Los Angeles is one such example of nature's fiery wrath, where a commuter witnessed the chaos firsthand. What started as a small blaze quickly transformed into an uncontrollable monster, consuming hillsides and threatening homes. The air was thick with smoke, visibility dropped to nearly zero, and flames roared with an intensity that seemed almost alive. The fire crept dangerously close to neighborhoods, forcing mass evacuations. Firefighters battled tirelessly, but the flames were relentless, fueled by strong winds and dry conditions. For those caught in its path, it was a race against time to escape.
All flames. Our correspondent saw for herself the horrors the wildfires inflicted here in just a matter of hours.
This is the heart of Lahainia's downtown. Hotels, restaurants, businesses completely obliterated. You can see in the distance some of the wreckage still smouldering a couple of days after these wildfires hit, and
Even more terrifying are fire tornadoes, where flames and whirlwinds collide in a deadly spectacle. These fiery cyclones can form when intense heat from wildfires creates powerful updrafts. The result is a spinning column of fire that spreads destruction even faster than a normal blaze. It's not just mesmerizing, but devastating, as it leaves firefighters scrambling to contain flames that leap from one area to another with terrifying unpredictability.
To our citizens.
A devastating collision of factors is being blamed.
Even just the materials that all of these places are built with, they're all at high risk of wildfire, and then they're surrounded by lands that have gone out of agriculture and are now just standing fallow and unmanaged.
In 2019, Brazil faced an environmental catastrophe when a dam collapsed, releasing a torrent of waste. But it wasn't just water and debris. The disaster sparked fires that further compounded the destruction. As flames spread across the devastated area, rescue efforts became even more challenging. The fires engulfed what little remained, turning the tragedy into a haunting reminder of how natural disasters often feed into one another. Wildfires, whether sparked by negligence or natural forces, show us just how vulnerable we are when nature decides to burn bright.
Florida, where Hurricane Milton has left a devastating path of destruction, and it wasn't just the hurricane, it was the deadly tornadoes spawned by this system. Well, more than 36 reported tornadoes. We are here in Fort Pierce in St. Lucie County, where authorities late today revealed at least 6 people have now died from these tornadoes.
Storms and hurricanes are some of the most dramatic displays of nature's fury, unleashing wind, rain, and chaos. Storm Pierrick, which battered the coastal cities near St. Malo, was a chilling reminder of how quickly the weather can turn deadly. Towering waves crashed against the shores, spilling over into streets and flooding homes. The winds howled relentlessly, ripping apart anything not firmly anchored. For residents, it felt like an apocalyptic movie coming to life. Boats capsized and debris floated in the streets, leaving the entire area looking like a waterlogged battlefield.
Around 8:30 Eastern Time last night near Sarasota, Hurricane Milton was a Category 3 with 120-mile-an-hour winds. In St. Petersburg, the winds ripping the roof off of the Tropicana Stadium, home of the Tampa Bay Rays.
Hurricane Ida was another formidable storm that left a trail of destruction in its wake. In some areas, homes that had stood strong for decades were no match for the relentless winds and torrential rain. One house in particular became a symbol of the hurricane's might. For days, its walls held firm, defying the storm's power, but eventually they gave way. The once sturdy structure collapsed, leaving the family to rebuild not just their home, but their sense of security. Sometimes, storms combine to create even more havoc. In one unforgettable event, 2 supercells converged, creating winds that reached an astonishing 100 miles per hour. The storm wasn't just fast, it was ferocious, with hailstones pounding the ground like cannonballs. The destruction was widespread, leaving communities to pick up the pieces after the skies cleared. Whether it's a single storm or a combination of forces, hurricanes, and extreme weather events remind us of how small we are in the face of nature's immense power. When the ground...
This evening, more than 3 million people in Florida are without power. Oh, there it was! Transformers exploding, streetlights crashing, a tree coming down through the roof of this home. In downtown St. Petersburg,
beneath our feet begins to tremble. It's a stark reminder of how unstable our world can be. A 7.6 magnitude earthquake left entire neighborhoods reeling as houses shook violently and roads cracked open. The tremors were so powerful that people rushed out of their homes, seeking refuge in open spaces. For those caught inside, every second felt like an eternity. After the shaking stopped, the destruction became clear. Buildings were damaged, streets were unrecognizable, and communities were left to rebuild from the rubble. One of the most devastating earthquakes in recent history was the 9.0 magnitude quake in Japan, followed by a massive tsunami. The footage from that day is haunting. Entire towns swallowed by waves, cars and boats tossed around like toys, and lives forever changed. This event, which occurred 12 years ago, remains etched in the collective memory of humanity. It's a reminder of the importance of disaster preparedness and the need to respect the planet's unpredictable nature. Floods are one of nature's most persistent and destructive forces. In an instant, calm rivers can become raging torrents, and streets can transform into waterways. One unforgettable example is the flooding of the New York City subway system. Rising water levels disrupted the city that never sleeps, bringing life to a grinding halt. Subway trains became stranded as water gushed into tunnels, filling them like bathtubs. Even station entrances were sealed off by the deluge. Commuters who were used to the hustle and bustle of city life found themselves trapped or forced to take alternate routes. It wasn't just inconvenient, it was a stark reminder of how even a modern metropolis can be rendered powerless when nature strikes. Cleaning up after the flood wasn't easy either. Workers had to pump out the water and repair damaged tracks and equipment. It was a mammoth task, one that showcased the city's resilience in the face of adversity. In Athens, Greece, the scene was eerily similar, but this time it wasn't the underground that bore the brunt. It was the streets. Torrential rains overwhelmed the city's drainage system, turning roads into rivers. Cars floated helplessly as stranded drivers sat inside, hoping for rescue. For those caught in the chaos, it was a nerve-wracking experience. Water poured into shops and homes, leaving a trail of destruction. The flooding wasn't just an inconvenience, it was a crisis. Emergency responders worked around the clock, but the damage had already been done. The streets that were once bustling with life became eerily quiet, with only the sound of rushing water filling the air. In southern China, the power of floodwaters was on full display when a steel bridge, built in 2017, was swept away. The bridge, which spanned about 150 meters, was no match for the relentless force of the water. Video footage of the incident shows the structure collapsing piece by piece, carried off by the raging currents. This wasn't just a loss of infrastructure, it was a stark warning about the increasing frequency of extreme weather events. The collapse cut off a vital transportation route, affecting thousands of people who relied on the bridge for their daily commute. The incident left authorities and engineers grappling with how to rebuild in a way that could withstand the unpredictable power of nature. Floods remind us that water, though essential for life, can also be a formidable force of destruction. Whether it's a subway system underwater, streets submerged, or bridges swept away, the impact is always profound. These events are not just about the immediate chaos, but also about the long-term effects on communities, economies, and lives. Each flood tells a story of resilience, adaptation, and the enduring power of nature.
Officials say a large water main break left water pouring onto the streets and up against cars.
My car is over there swimming.
Including Shannon Elos, who rarely parks on Webster Avenue.
You park on the street and you take a chance.
Firefighters rescued this woman, holding on to her and bringing her to safety.
Volcanic eruptions are some of the most spectacular and terrifying natural phenomena. When a volcano awakens, it's as if the earth itself is breathing fire. The eruption of the Guatemala volcano is a vivid example of this raw power. Massive ash clouds shot into the sky, darkening the landscape and sending residents fleeing for safety. The sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Villages near the volcano were quickly evacuated as the ash began to settle, coating everything in a thick gray blanket. For those living nearby, it was a race against time to escape the encroaching danger. The ash wasn't just a visual spectacle, it posed serious health risks, clogging lungs and contaminating water supplies. Yet, amidst the chaos, the resilience of the people shone through as they banded together to protect their families and rebuild their lives. In Iceland, another volcanic event combined the elements of fire and ice in a breathtaking display. The eruption of a glacier volcano was unlike anything most people had ever seen. As molten lava erupted from the earth, it collided with the glacier above, creating a dramatic contrast of fiery reds and icy blues. The heat melted the glacier, sending torrents of water rushing down the slopes, further adding to the chaos. This wasn't just a natural event, it was a once-in-a-lifetime spectacle. Scientists and photographers from around the world flocked to the site to study and capture the phenomenon, while locals watched anxiously, hoping the lava wouldn't reach their homes.
You can see spurting out of that new fissure is hundreds of meters away now from the town of Grindavik. The people who were there were about 90 homes, have been safely evacuated. The local authorities.
Volcanic eruptions are as dangerous as they are mesmerizing. They don't just destroy, they reshape the land itself. New islands can emerge from the sea, and entire landscapes can be buried under layers of ash and lava. The unpredictability of these events adds to their danger. One moment, a volcano may seem dormant, and the next, it's spewing lava and ash with a fury that defies imagination. These eruptions also remind us of the delicate balance between humans and the natural world. We build our lives in the shadow of these giants, knowing that they can awaken at any moment. Landslides are among nature's most sudden and devastating phenomena. When the ground gives way, entire mountainsides can crumble, taking everything in their path: trees, homes, and even lives. In Luoyang County, China, the power of prediction and preparation saved countless lives. Authorities had issued warnings about an imminent landslide, prompting the evacuation of residents. Just days later, the mountainside came crashing down, sending thousands of tons of rock and debris hurtling toward the evacuated villages. The sight of the massive landslide was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. Watching the ground shift like liquid was a stark reminder of the sheer force of nature. For those who had lived there, it was a bittersweet moment. They had lost their homes, but their lives had been spared.
So it was a very rapid progression of events. We knew that the pressure in the magma chamber feeding these eruptions were about at the level where we could expect an eruption, so everyone was prepared.
In Himachal Pradesh, India, landslides are a recurring nightmare, especially during the monsoon season. The unpredictable nature of these slides makes them particularly terrifying. One moment, everything seems calm. The next, an entire hillside is on the move. In one village, homes were reduced to rubble as the earth beneath them shifted. Families lost not just their possessions, but their sense of safety. Roads were buried under layers of mud and rock, cutting off entire communities from the outside world. Rescue teams worked tirelessly, but the rugged terrain and continuous rainfall made their job nearly impossible. The unpredictability of these landslides highlights how vulnerable mountainous regions are to natural disasters. Spain also witnessed the destructive force of landslides when massive rockfalls occurred, creating scenes straight out of an apocalyptic movie. Entire sections of cliffs gave way, crashing onto roads and fields below. The sheer size of the falling rocks was enough to leave anyone in awe. Videos of the event captured the ground trembling as boulders the size of small houses tumbled down. For the people living nearby, it was a day they would never forget. The destruction was immense, but it also served as a stark reminder of the need to respect the natural forces at play in these regions. Landslides, though devastating, are a part of the natural processes that shape our planet. They remind us of the dynamic nature of the Earth, constantly shifting and changing over time. While we can't stop them, better technology and preparedness can save lives. Whether it's the evacuated villages of China, the rain-soaked hillsides of India, or the crumbling cliffs of Spain, landslides are a powerful reminder of nature's ability to reshape the world in an instant.
Thankfully, the area is uninhabitable, so the lava flow didn't threaten human life. Well, other than the camera crews who showed up to film it.
Cold weather can be beautiful and serene, but when temperatures plummet to extreme levels, it can become a matter of survival. Mongolia experienced one of the harshest winters in recent history, with temperatures dropping to a bone-chilling -50.8 degrees Fahrenheit. This wasn't just cold, it was life-threatening. The frigid weather impacted every aspect of life. Livestock, a vital part of Mongolia's rural economy, suffered immensely, with thousands of animals succumbing to the cold. For the people, simply staying warm became a daily challenge. Homes were equipped with wood-burning stoves, but even that wasn't enough for some. The government stepped in to provide aid, but the sheer scale of the crisis made recovery slow and difficult. For those living through it, it was a stark reminder of how harsh and unforgiving nature can be. In Vermont, the combination of snowstorms and flooding created a paradoxical disaster. The picturesque snowy landscapes turned into chaotic scenes as heavy snow melted rapidly, leading to widespread flooding. Rivers overflowed, roads were washed out, and homes were inundated with icy water. For residents, it was a confusing and terrifying experience, dealing with freezing temperatures while also battling rising floodwaters. Emergency responders worked tirelessly to rescue stranded families, while others took refuge in shelters set up to provide warmth and safety. The damage to infrastructure and homes was significant, but the community's spirit shone through as neighbors helped each other rebuild and recover.
Long delays or road closures, which made it possible for many to get away.
Patiently waiting. We're making some powder today.
You're not put off by the fact that, people are saying stay off the roads, etc., etc.
We're off the roads. We're on the mountain.
As for the drive home, though, not worried about all the heavy storm weather to travel in?
No, we never thought about that till now. We'll worry about it on the way home.
Extreme cold doesn't just disrupt daily life, it tests the limits of human resilience. From the vast, frozen steppes of Mongolia to the icy rivers of Vermont, these events highlight the challenges of living in a world where temperatures can swing to such extremes. The stories of those who endure these conditions remind us of the incredible adaptability of the human spirit. At the same time, they serve as a warning about the increasing unpredictability of weather patterns, urging us to prepare for a world where such events might become more common. There's something undeniably powerful about a thunderstorm. The way the sky darkens, the distant rumble that grows louder, and then, without warning, a streak of lightning cuts across the heavens, illuminating everything for a split second. Thunderstorms remind us of nature's incredible power and unpredictability. In Arizona, the consequences of a storm were anything but fleeting. What began as a calm, ordinary day quickly escalated into chaos when sudden rainfall transformed tranquil desert landscapes into raging torrents. Flash floods are a terrifyingly fast phenomenon, and Arizona's desert terrain makes them even more dramatic. The hard, dry soil doesn't absorb water easily, so when heavy rain falls, it has nowhere to go. In just minutes, dry creek beds turned into roaring rivers. Roads disappeared beneath surging water, carrying debris, tree branches, and even cars downstream. For those caught in the path, it was a fight for survival. Some drivers were stranded, unable to navigate the rising water, while others scrambled to higher ground, watching helplessly as the floodwaters consumed everything in their path. The sheer speed and power of the flood were a stark reminder that nature doesn't always offer a warning.
Det är snö som kommer ned. Det är inte bara stöv ser det ut den här gången. Det ska bli spännande att se för det såg ut som det gick en stråle väldigt på fläckstigen.
As if the flash floods weren't enough, thunderstorms bring with them another incredible phenomenon: lightning. In many parts of the world, thunderstorms are as much about the electric spectacle as they are about the rain. Lightning strikes are both mesmerizing and dangerous, capable of lighting up an entire night sky with their jagged brilliance. One particularly powerful strike in Arizona was caught on camera, showing a bolt so bright and intense that it seemed to freeze time. It hit with a deafening crack, leaving the landscape illuminated for what felt like an eternity. This wasn't just nature showing off, it was a dangerous reminder of the raw energy that lies within a storm. Lightning strikes don't just light up the sky, they also leave their mark on the ground. Trees can be split down the middle, their insides charred by the incredible heat. Sometimes the ground itself can be scarred, with unique patterns called fulgurites, forming where the lightning fuses sand into glass. These remnants of a strike are beautiful in their own way, but they serve as a clear warning about the dangers of being caught in a thunderstorm. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.